We're live! We got here! Oh, my life, changing every day, every possible way. Oh, my dream, never quite as it seems, never quite as it seems. I know I never felt like this before. Too many words. Even more, because you came from you. And then I open up and see the person falling here is me. A different way to be. And I'm going to end it there. I'm going to end it there because the show's about you, Angela, not about the song. But what an amazing song. And my first question is, why did you choose that song?
That's a great question. I'm so glad, Ashley, that you sent me a list of songs to pick from, because when last Friday, when I remembered, oh my God, we're going live on Monday. I was literally in my Spotify and I was going down a musical tunnel of just like trying to find a song, and got your list and went down the list. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, boom, Cranberries, Dreams. Yes, that's it. Love that song. I actually haven't heard that song in a really, really, really long time. I think it's probably been a good decade since the last time I actually listened to that song. But that song brings me back to my youth. And I think it was, first of all, it brings me back to my youth. I think that's an important connection because it was a really sort of coming of age period, right? When I was starting to formulate my musical identity, starting to, kind of identify what sort of music was really me. And yeah, I think, just a lot of things. So there was a lot that had to do with that connection with my youth. And I think also the name was definitely something that just really struck a chord because, that's completely in the business of what we do today. So connecting that connection with my youth to what we do today, which is all about helping people to really create that business of their dreams and make it work for them. I went into Spotify, I listened to that song probably about 4 or 5 times just because it was like, trip down memory lane. And I was listening to lyrics. I'm like, damn, that is just so spot on. It talks about like, your life is changing every day. It talks about like a different way of being. So many reasons. And honestly, I realized, Ashley, I could probably just write an entire essay about why I chose that song, but that's not what this show is actually about. So,
well, look, someone said to me ages ago, if you're going to do a show, why don't you incorporate your guitar into it? And I thought, well, no one's going to be interested, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I wanted to be a DJ when I left school. I wanted to be on the radio. And so I'm pretty much doing it, aren't I? I'm playing songs and I'm doing interviews and stuff like that. So no, absolutely wonderful. Oh, look at that. We've got John. John, you found us. I have had no end of problems setting up this show today for Angela. So thank you so much for all of your patience today, Angela. So you're Angela,
yes.
Tsai, and you're an offer coach. So, and I know that you're called Tsai because you actually recorded your pronunciation in LinkedIn, which is perfect. So come on,
I completely forgot I did that.
tell us all about you and what you do, and more importantly, what on earth is an offer coach?
That is a really, really good question. And just before I go into that, I just want to go back to what you were saying, Ashley, about, the fact that you wanted to incorporate guitar into what you were doing. And we were chatting a little bit backstage about this. I love
backstage. Get you.
Yeah, I think that's actually what they call it, though, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, make it look as if we're in this amazing auditorium.
Yeah, but it's just, you're obviously a LinkedIn personality. People see aspects of stuff on LinkedIn. They're like, that's Ashley, and your guitar is obviously a part of that. I'm so jealous because if I could actually sing or I could play guitar like you do, like I would absolutely incorporate that into what I do. But okay, so I think going back to your question, it's related. You asked me, what on earth is an offer coach? I think a big part of what I do as an offer coach and what we do, because I am part of a duo. You also know my business partner, Christina. She's a very different personality to me. So the two of us, we form a very interesting dynamic sort of duo. It's really about being able to fully uncover who a person is and what they do, what they have to offer to the world. And like my tagline says, right, figuring out the thing that you're brilliant at, pulling that out and actually getting that package into an offer. Because so often an offer, people treat an offer like it's just something which is a packaging of their skills and time and like a bunch of deliverables. And that's often where it kind of defaults. But our starting point really is that, firstly, an offer is actually so much more than that. There is so much depth that actually goes into it. Now, the reason that we started calling ourselves offer coaches, I'll be honest, in the beginning, it was because we really needed to find a way that we were able to differentiate and stand out and be different to all of the other people out there that do, marketing advisory, marketing coaching, business coaching, like lots of different pieces. And we started off as a marketing agency. We ran campaigns for coaches and consultants. We did a whole bunch of stuff, underneath that umbrella. But what we realized is that, the thing that we were doing over and over again, which was actually the front piece that was required even before we could go into any sort of marketing to make a marketing campaign successful, was this piece. Just answering that simple question: what do you sell? Why do people buy you? And why you? Like, how does it all tie into the person that you are and everything that you bring and offer to the world? So, that really, I think, encapsulates, what our unique take to what an offer actually is, and what we do as offer coaches.
And so what you're doing then is you're just making it so much easier for people like me. And I do my LinkedIn Daily Habit Workshop. It's making it so much easier for us to get people to know about it and get people on those courses, which obviously is how we make money. So a very important role that you're doing, Angela.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You talk about the way to make money. The offer really is, it is a vehicle. It is a vehicle to monetize what you actually do. But what we find is, the steps that happen before you actually package what that vehicle is. Like, we talk to people, and the first thing when they start thinking about, oh yeah, I've got my offer nailed, I know if it's a one-on-one, or I know it's a group coaching, I know it's a training course, or is it going to be a consulting product, all of this stuff. But there's so much actually that happens before. I mean, that the packaging really doesn't matter. Like, when you actually identify the essence of what that offer is, like, that's going to change. And the biggest determinant of that is going to be, how much time and energy do you really want to spend working in your business? Like, that really wraps the constraints around that, right? Like, whether you, put the stuff into like a course, whether you have like different components that you sort of mash together to make sure that you're getting ultimately the best results for your client, like all of that is surface level stuff. You still have to answer the heart of it. Like, why do people buy you? What is that real outcome that you give them?
Yeah, absolutely. And because that's all you do, you've got it down to a fine art, and you can really help people, absolutely shine and nail it as well. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So this is 15 minutes behind the profile, and so obviously we met on LinkedIn, and I just want to know your thoughts on LinkedIn. So why do you love LinkedIn then, Angela?
That's a great question. I didn't start off liking or loving LinkedIn very much. I'm sure
who does? Who does?
I've actually never asked you why you started liking LinkedIn, but that's something I love to
that's for your show.
That's for my show. So I recently, because this question was something on another podcast, they asked me how long I've been on LinkedIn. So I looked into that. I looked into my data on LinkedIn. I realized I had been on LinkedIn for 15 years. About 13 of those years, I would say I was silent on LinkedIn. Yes, exactly like that. And I've been in business for 5 years. So what that ultimately means is, for the first 3 years of business, it was like nothing, desert, rolling, whatever those things that
tumbleweed. Tumbleweed.
Exactly. I was a lurker on LinkedIn, so I would like look at stuff, but I didn't post really anything. There were a couple of things, but I'd like post something, then I'd run away. And I actually do stuff on my Instagram and my Facebook, which I thought was much safer. And the reason for that was because, I spent 16 years in corporate before I jumped into business. And for me, LinkedIn was a space where my entire professional network was, from my entire career up until now. And it somehow felt like I was starting again. Like I had built this career, done so much over the years. And now here I am, I'm at the beginning, not really knowing what exactly I was doing, not really having, any real business to show for it. I was just a fledgling, right? Like things were just starting up. And I had a huge amount of imposter syndrome and a huge amount of just inner critic voices telling me like, oh, who are you to be showing up like this? And what are people going to be thinking of you? And all of that stuff. So all of that was swirling in my head, which held me back from posting on LinkedIn. And when I did post on LinkedIn, it was all very prepared, very polished. This stuff, it just wasn't really like, you couldn't really get behind what it really was. So I think over the last 2 years, and a big part of that has been the identity shift, like kind of that deeper work that was happening alongside all this, and just getting comfortable with all that. But I have to say right now, at least in the last 1 or 2 years, I really, really, really love LinkedIn. I like that it's a very sincere environment. It's very genuine. It's very hard to be fake. And in that way, that means that the people that you see, it's like the place I go to validate someone is for real before I actually decide, can I work with them? Because I can see their entire history, right? Like it's not like a perfectly polished Instagram or whatever. So yeah, that's I would say the main reason that I like LinkedIn. I think because LinkedIn is still a bit more of a professional environment, people just make more of an effort to actually, be kind and show up as the best version of themselves. But also at the same time, there's this increasing vulnerability that I'm starting to see, that people are allowing people to see who is behind, that professional face. So yeah, I think that those are the reasons that I really like it.
No, absolutely, and I love that. I don't know if you noticed, I just quickly wrote "sincere" in the banners to put that up. That's a great word. It's a great word for LinkedIn, because you go on other platforms and you can be anonymous, but on LinkedIn, you're Angela Tsai. We know where you've worked before. We know who you're connected to and stuff like that. So yeah, the last thing you're going to do is be rude and goodness knows what on LinkedIn. And so therefore, everyone's really, really friendly. Everyone wants to help each other. It's all about collaboration. John Osperian, who's actually just put a comment in the show, he helps people get more from LinkedIn and has quite a few LinkedIn specialists on his group. And so we get loads of information from him, and we're going out and helping other people. And so, that is the personification of collaborative, I can't even say it, collaborative work, and being kind. And Richard is saying exactly the same thing. And I know Richard helps lots of people with the things that he does. And that there's enough business out there. There's 950 million people on LinkedIn, so there's enough business for all of us, no matter what we're doing, including LinkedIn trainers. So but we don't get to see many offer coaches. So do you get business from what you do on LinkedIn, Angela?
We do. It's actually become so crucial for the way that we do business today that it has pretty much become what we focus on about 99% of the time when it comes to our business generation activities. And with the business generation activities, I mean, I count also offline work as well, because we connect with people on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is where a lot of very deep friendships, I would say, have formed. People that, in fact, I hadn't even met until like 1 year after we connect on LinkedIn, sometimes even 2 years. And it's been a place of being connected with communities where we've then been part of either in-person events. We've now joined the Women's Business Club, which is, again, another connection that started off initially on LinkedIn by my business partner, Christina. And we now co-host and run their events based in central London. It's also been a place where we've been approached by people who were running events and also lives like yourself, and also podcasts. And it's just been an amazing source. And I think it all comes down to that genuine in-person connection. Again, like people can see that you're real, you can see that they're real. It's very, very hard to fake and pretend, because that falls apart very quickly on a platform like LinkedIn. So yeah, no, we all of our activities are really based here. We do online webinars. Yeah. So, and we're doing a Q&A, actually. We're really experimenting with the features. So we're doing an audio only event, which one of our clients who listened in, he described it like a 90s dating radio show.
That's an interesting way to talk about the LinkedIn's version of Clubhouse. That's basically what it is, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes.
I don't know if you got into Clubhouse during the pandemic.
A little bit.
But yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people went off on that and did some amazing things and made a lot of connections. But I haven't really tried the audio rooms yet. I pop in. I like to see people. I like to see and have a proper chat. But I guess with the audio rooms, you can have it on in the background and just carry on and doing what you're doing. But then, are you really listening? So I love a podcast. I love a podcast. I listen to all of John's podcasts, and that doesn't matter. But when it's on video, you've got to sit there and watch it. But some people are sort of like sitting down having their lunch watching this. Other people will listen to the podcast when that comes out on Wednesday. But the audio room, you have to be in that room at that time, don't you? It's never recorded, so you can't catch up with it. So when's your audio room, and how do we get onto that one then, Angela?
So it's on Thursday. Need to check the time. It's 1:30 p.m. I know Ashley's not going to be there unless he's going to be listening alongside eating his lunch.
We've got to have some rules in business, yes. and my lunch hour is protected.
Very sacred. We all have to have our sacred boundaries. So yes, 1:30 p.m. on Thursdays when we're doing it.
So look at that. So John and I will be doing an audio room. As you can see on the screen, happy to do an experimental audio room with you if you'd like to give it a spin. So there we go. We can help each other. I don't know how many John's done. So this offer coaching sort of thing. So what are the key things that if I was going to do an offer, what are the key things that I should be doing that you teach people to do, and how what are people doing wrong?
Yeah, no, how to really unpack that, right? I mean, I think there's probably about 2 or 3 questions just in what.
Yes, sorry.
Really unpack. So I'm like, okay, where do I really start? Okay, so you asked about where are people going wrong, and that was the basis of the event that we actually ran. Just a few weeks ago. It was called From Expertise to Income. And we talked about some of the common mistakes that where people go wrong. Some of that I hinted on in the first question when you're asking me why offer coach. So I said, a big mistake that I think that a lot of people make when they approach their offers is that they do think about offers like it's just packaging stuff. It's like packaging expertise. How do I package my skills? And that's actually part of the big problem. I think, the way they treat the offer, firstly, again, you're not considering the thing that's underneath, but also that thing underneath, like what really is your expertise? And that's something that I talked about extensively in the event that I ran, where a lot of people, they have this idea that expertise is defined by all the things that are external, like all of our skills, all of our, titles in the past, experiences, the different projects we've run on over the years, and they believe that those are the things that define what your expertise is. But what we have found going through this is that in itself really isn't it. I mean, it's a part of it. Like, obviously, it's a way that your expertise has come out. But if that was all expertise is something then that's really easy to replicate and copy, right? Like anyone can just say, oh, I'm a LinkedIn coach, or I do marketing, or I'm an offer coach, all of that stuff, like all of these labels, but what's actually underneath? And so the real expertise, right? Like what really is that expertise? And I think the thing that I spoke about a lot is, what if your expertise was a thing that, almost is like a natural talent of yours, which has shown up in every single role, every single job title that you've ever had, every single iteration of your business, every single session that you've ever had with your clients. It's shown up through those things. And every single time you practice that particular expertise, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And, I spoke about our backstory of how we became offer coaches. And I understand, just how hard it is to actually take away your experience and your skills and your knowledge and all of that stuff, and really dig to what that expertise is, because I kind of rejected that for a really long time. Christina will tell you all about that. Because she came into our business and she's like, oh, you've been running all these campaigns, but what if you just sell that first piece? And I'm like, what do you mean? People don't want that first piece. That's the stuff I do for free. That's the stuff that we have to do before the marketing campaign actually starts to work. She's like, yeah, you just that piece. Everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so clear. Yes, that makes so much sense now. All that stuff. Like, people don't want to buy clarity. They want to buy campaigns. But apparently, our entire business for the last 2 years has been based around that. So there's a lot of people out there that actually really want to buy clarity. And it took me a really long time to actually figure that out, that was a thing that had shown up in pretty much everything that I'd done throughout my entire career. I realized that the offer coaching thing, it wasn't just something that I'd been doing for the last 2 years or even the last 3 years prior to that, running the marketing agency. It was something that was pretty much showing up throughout my entire 20-year career up until now, like being able to pull together lots of different pieces and, turn expertise and knowledge into sellable products that the market loves. So yeah, that's a part of it. So identifying really what that diamond is. And the third part is really around focus. We're business owners, which means that we're multi-passionate. We have lots of ideas. We're creative, and we can tend to jump constantly into lots of things all the time. We usually have about 20 plates spinning all at once. I think, Ashley, you will totally relate with that.
Yep.
But at the same time, when we are just a single person, our energy is finite. And there's only ever so much that we can really do with our time, which is where focus comes into play. And focus is, I believe, where a lot of people also fall down on, because, they've kind of started pursuing one thing, but something else comes along, they get distracted, they jump on that thing, and the thing that they started on never actually gets to see the full way through. And so it's really like figuring out where to focus your energy and your time, but exactly what is the right place to focus in the context of the bigger business. I talk about the dream business, right? The dream business you want to build out. What is the domino thing that you can actually focus your energy on creating that is going to be the stepping stone to building out all the rest, and making sure that you stay in business, you're generating enough money coming into your business to be able to continue to build out the rest of it. So yeah, I mean, those were 3 things. There's definitely more, but I'll stop there because I know we only have 15 minutes.
Yeah, which we've gone over anyway. But we know we go till 1 o'clock. So, do you have a story of one of your clients having amazing success that you're happy to share with us?
Yeah, sure. So one of them is a mutual friend of ours. We were actually speaking about her in the backstage. I think you know who I'm talking about.
I certainly do.
Yes, Jane. Jane, she's a breath coach. She's also, like you, she's an amazing personality on LinkedIn. Really, really brilliant stuff. So she's a breath retrainer. And, so we spoke about focus, right? That focus, and also digging out the real essence of the offer. So Jane, her dream was to become a global educator on breathing, changing the way that people breathe all over the world. So you know this because you've worked also with Jane as well in depth. But when she started, she had this big dream, this thing that she wanted to go to, this big empire that she wanted to create all around breathing and changing the way people think about breathing. But where was the starting point? If she had started off in the very beginning of her business, and that was 2 years ago now, when she was just really starting out with building her brand, and she was talking about retraining your breathing. But it's okay, well, you think no one really sits there and thinks there's something wrong with my breathing. Now, she's been active enough now on LinkedIn where she's been putting in a lot of different stories to start changing that mindset. But the educational path takes time. How do you actually hook people in from the beginning? So in the beginning, we had to really identify, I spoke about this concept of the domino, right? What was the domino step to be able to set off the rest? And it turned out with her, we had to really sit down and unravel all of the ideas in her head. And it turned out that her big domino thing was snoring. So that was one of the symptoms. It was one of the symptoms that people could start to identify, like, oh, maybe I have a problem with the way that I breathe, or I have a problem I'm experiencing right now that could be solvable through breathing. We knew where she was going in terms of the multiple different pillars that we had built out, but by being able to identify and anchor on that single pillar in terms of where that was going to start, she was able to fill out her first course when she launched it, her snoring course, and that kind of became the stepping stone where she was able to bounce off and start building out the rest of everything else. But it got her the initial attention. People started to sit up and be like, oh wow, breath retraining isn't just for people that are like really kind of living alternative lifestyles and walking around barefoot and all of that stuff, but it's actually potentially for somebody like me. Mm-hmm. So it was bringing that closer to them. So yeah, that's just one example, but we've got plenty.
Yeah, absolutely. But the show's not long enough, but your passion is coming out in this. Absolutely superb. So how can anybody get hold of you, Angela, and work with you?
LinkedIn is definitely the best way. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Like I said, it's become my favorite platform. So I think the best way to reach out to me is just to connect with me on LinkedIn. I think Ashley has my contact details, but anyway, you can just also connect through here. And we are also running our live audio event on Thursday. So come along. If 90s dating radio shows were ever your thing, then I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And we're running a webinar again in October or November now. I think November is going to be when we're going to run our next one. So stay tuned for that.
Fantastic. Angela, you've been a lovely guest. It's always lovely to catch up as well. So I've got one last question before you disappear. What advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
That's a great question. So I'm glad you gave me that one up front, so I had time to think about it in advance. I would say...
Oh, you've given away the secret there. I'm sure I'm not the only one that sends the questions beforehand.
Oh no, but I've listened to your shows before. You asked that at the end of it.
I do.
You do. So 16-year-old self, I would say spend the time to get to know yourself. Spend the time to get to know yourself. I think that's something which applies in any stage of life really that you go through, if it's a relationship transition, job transition, or especially that jump from when you go from a job into going into business. But yeah, I think that time to really sort of deeply be still, like understanding and being honest with yourself in terms of what do you want in life, and and I'm not talking about like what impact you want to create. Like, yes, you want to identify your purpose, but being honest with yourself. For myself and Christina, we sat down last year and we said that we want a business that is able to allow us to work only 15 or 16 hours a week. And that was honest, Christina and I were sitting there. She was like saying, oh, we've got all these like different companies we can approach. We can do consulting here. We can do consulting here. And all I was seeing was just like sucks of time and drain and stress and hustle, and it just wasn't what I wanted life to look like and also feel like. And yeah, so it's I think really just kind of spending some time with yourself and asking yourself the crucial questions. What is it that you want? And getting to know that, being honest with that would be what I say. And yes, Richard, I am Australian, so really good catch.
I was just gonna ask you that. So yeah, thank you for that question. I was expecting people to ask all these amazing things about Offer Coach, but no, where are you from? Angela, you've been absolutely delightful. Thank you to everybody for the lovely comments on the show. I will be back next Tuesday, but in the meantime, thank you very much indeed for tuning in, and got a bit of music to end out with. Thank you very much indeed. You get out what you put in.